Mic is on.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Charter Revision Commission special meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, and we're here in New Canaan Town Hall. And I'm going to turn it over to our secretary for a roll call.
Thank you. Mr. Case.
Here.
Miss Corbett.
Here.
Miss Holm. Here. Miss Jameson here. Mr. Kimes.
Here.
Mr. Lampert.
Here.
Mr. Labrie.
Here.
Miss Neville. Here. Miss Palo.
Here.
Mr. Palo, sorry. Mr. Perrett.
Here.
And Miss Willett. Here. Thank you. Everybody is present.
Okay, well, welcome, everyone. Is there anybody, we're going to be able to record who's coming online too, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Okay, well, welcome again, everyone. We are going to welcome public comments, but before doing so, let's take a quick look at the minutes for the two meetings that were held on December 2nd. One was the public hearing meeting. We have a separate set of minutes for those. And the second was the special meeting minutes. And I know some of you have sent us some comments and so forth, and I suggest those are always brought out at the meeting. Obviously, if you have just some edits and so forth, grammar, you can get those to the secretary. But are there any comments of substance that people want to change or edit on the minutes? No? Steve, did you have something? I think we might have incorporated yours.
You did?
Yeah, I actually have them here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can
And they were put on the, in the minutes on the website, correct?
no,
Okay.
they
Then-
weren't.
then
So this
let's
was
review
after
then.
the draft. So
Okay.
this is for the special meeting. So under item 5 on the agenda, allocation of research and interviews among commissioners, Mr. Case suggested adding at the end. There was a brief discussion about whether boards and commissions not identified in the current charter should be added in the revised charter, with the Historic Commission offered as an example.
Yes.
It's actually a historic district commission, but
Yes.
I can add that. And then the second one too, and this you suggested as a separate agenda item, but because it's a special meeting, we can't add new agenda items. And I think it fell anyway under the CRC budget review, and it related to consultants. Mr. Case suggested the following. There was a discussion about finding a potential third-party consultant experienced in Connecticut town charter reviews that could supplement the legal advice offered by Birch and Moses for others. Chair Corbett polled the commissioners, with several expressing skepticism regarding the idea, while others were open to the idea. Commissioner Lambert agreed to look into the issue and report back on the availability and potential costs at the next meeting. So I can add that.
And yes, can you put on your?
Oh, I'm
mic there?
sorry.
That's
Yep.
okay. You don't have to repeat everything. That's okay. We
Yeah.
got it.
Where does this go in?
So this would actually go under item 7, CRC budget review. We that part of the discussion did actually occur, as I recall, when we were talking about the budget.
Those are, we'll accept those.
Yep.
Any other comments or changes to minutes for both meetings? Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So move, Russ Kimes. Second. For Joe Palo. I'm saying this on the benefit of Karen, who's joining us in person. Welcome, Karen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? No. Okay, great. Thank
Just
you.
in the future, if there is an edit like that, should we all go? I mean, I'm just very aware of email clutters.
Yeah, right. So if you have anything like you did of substance, rather than having us change it during the time between the last meeting and this meeting, it's better to have it brought forward. Absolutely share it with the secretary, and then she'll read it forward, and
Okay.
that should be fine. Yeah,
Okay.
you handle it fine.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
If it's just a typo, we can clear those up. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, now the section, and by the way, public comments are always going to be an agenda item, and we'll do it up front. We're going to be talking about the fact that we're going to enable people, the public, to submit their comments as we move along and, or, you know, if anybody has any thoughts in writing. And so we'll make that access available through our website. But in the meantime, we're always welcome people who took the time to come here. And I'm going to reach out to Roy Abramowitz. Yes.
Did we approve both sets of minutes or just?
Sorry, that was an
just
approval
the-
for both sets of
Yeah.
minutes.
Both sets, okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for that. Okay. And I'm going to reach out to actually a couple people in the audience. First, Mr. Abramowitz, do you have any comments?
From here.
I can bring you a microphone if you want.
Hold on one second.
You hear
I
me?
think I can sit over there. It's fine. Where that works, thank you. Either work. You can sit there also.
Thanks, Bill.
Is there a mic over there?
No.
Jennifer.
Thanks.
Good, how are you?
Okay, Roy, you got 3 minutes. And ideally, I don't know what you're going to be referencing, but if you've already have said what you're about to say, just know that it's already been taken in notes and so forth. So if it's something new, obviously we always welcome those comments. So, okay.
Sorry, I left my hearing things.
Okay. All right, 3 minutes. Go ahead, Roy.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right. I just want to test in.
You're good.
Good.
Yep.
I just want to reiterate my feelings about the Board of Finance and probably the Audit Committee, that they should be elected and not appointed. I see lack of internal control, lack of segregation of duties, management override of controls, lack of best practices, and in a specific, what's going on now, protection of taxpayers' funds versus private investors. You know, municipalities don't have money. They have taxpayer money, okay? And I'll give you why. Of the 169 municipalities in Connecticut, the vast majority, maybe 90% or more of the BOFs are elected. Term limits are a necessity. And I believe the first selectman should be on the bench, not on the dais, because it doesn't look like independence, especially when the Board of Selectmen appoints the members of the committee. And why do I say that? Because should be elected. I want to know the people's credentials, their positions on issues. Too many of the appointments are for best friends, returns of support. There was an appointment I questioned the prior first selectman. He told me I got to return a favor. That's not why you should put somebody on a Board of Selectmen. I watched the last Board of Finance meeting. On a Board of Finance. Sorry, I got a head cold. On a lease termination, the consulting contract agreement, and I think it was unilaterally authored and signed. I got a problem with that. I have pertinent questions that should have been answered. What's net revenue? Why is it being given to Cinema Lab when they're in arrears of a rent? The screens have no value. The seats and the projector's probably worth about 150. There was no review of documents. Why isn't a workout expert hired by the Board of Finance? And do you know that LLC members can be held liable under certain instances? I believe the Board of Finance agreed to terms without knowledge. In the original lease, it's a 10-year lease. I've done 10-year leases, reviewed them for clients. There should be a letter of credit in the name of the town. There should be 6 months security. The square footage of the theater is 8,650 square feet. Do you know that 120,000 year lease is 1,387 a square foot on Main Street, prime commercial real estate? Why is it so below the market? It should be $48 to $65 a square feet. The Crumb Bakery, a decade ago, Jeb Walker proudly said, is paying me $100 a square foot, same location. At $65 a square foot, that'd be $556,000 to the town every year. All this is done, I believe, when we have private investors, some elected officials and previous elected officials. So on a March
Mr.
25th,
Abramowitz? Sorry, you've exceeded the 3 minutes. Is there anything you have to say specifically about the
I
charter?
just feel that if we had an elected Board of Finance that was responsible to the electorate,
Okay,
they would have reviewed this more in depth because they're going to be elected, not to the people who appoint them.
okay. Thank you very much.
And this Cinema Lab scenario, in my mind,
Mhm.
is a prime example of what's going on.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Sorry if I over.
No, no worries.
Are you submitting your notes or is that just?
No.
Right, you've not, okay, no, I didn't.
Okay, thank you. Nope, we're all set.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry. Is there anybody
Else in
on
the
the
room?
call through Zoom that would like to?
If you are on Zoom and you wish to raise your hand, if you have comments, you can raise your virtual hand.
That'll be fine. Thank you. You can just, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
This is, page one.
okay.
Anyone? I don't
Nobody
see any
online?
hands. If I'm missing a hand, just jump on, Mike, and let me know, but I do not see any.
We had one submission, written comments. I'll just read them briefly to the Charter Revision Commission. These are comments from Christina Ross. And actually, I thought they were just one page. They are, yeah. So I will send these comments forward. I'll put them in the public packet as well. But there's 3 pages of comments. Mrs. Ross spoke to us at our last meeting, and essentially it's in writing now. So I will share that with the commission and we'll post it to the public packet. So thank you, Christina, for submitting those. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you all. Okay, let's move to some of the items. I'm going to apologize in advance. Bill, come on up. And apologize in advance if I have to cut people off. But we have a full agenda and I want to make sure that we cover everything in the time that we have allotted. First item on the agenda, and again, this is a special meeting, so we cannot change anything that's on the agenda, additions or what have you. We can postpone or delete some of these, but what the item on the agenda is Karma insurance coverage, and this came as from a question from Bill Perrette, and we did get a response from Karma, our insurance organization, and it affirms that the CRC and its members, in fact, this is true for all boards and commissions in town, and its members are covered under the town's existing liability insurance policy. So, and there was a hard copy of that posted from Karma as well. So does that address your questions? Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions about that one? Okay. Let's move on then. The budget review and approval. Again, this is a follow-on of a topic that we had at our last meeting. And Todd, I think you were taking us to evaluate the one open item on that budget. As you recall, it's also in your packet. Approximately $50,000 would be put forward to the Board of Selectmen in an appropriation for this current budget year. And then there's another approximately $50,000, which includes contingency for next year's budget. So it's really kind of a two-step process. We would submit it all together, but Todd, you were going to look into something?
Sorry, I'm going to be annoying about that.
No,
So.
not annoying, it's good.
No, thanks, Russ. It's something we all have to get used to. So I've begun the search. It's proving a little more difficult than I thought to find something that's qualified to help us along the way. So it's going to be another couple of weeks before I get something, especially with the holidays. I've got a lot of people that have not returned calls and some that have, but it's going to be a bit of a process for sure, unfortunately.
Well, understood. And I think actually that's brings us to some observations that Steve Case came over, and I think a number of us have come across different resources that potentially can fill the consultant gap, if you will. Steve, why don't you comment on what you came across?
Sure, I was just doing Google searches, and there's in Connecticut, a Connecticut Conference of Municipalities that has a guidebook for charter revisions as a resource. And they actually used the work that was done by this commission in 2016 as their prime example of how to do it right. And this commission exists, and there is I'm sorry, I should have come prepared. There's
That's
an
okay.
individual that's identified to be the linkage from, I think it's 9 or 10 towns in the Fairfield County area to the commission itself. I'd be happy to follow up on that and see if that could indeed be a resource that could provide a non-legal input into what is going on and as almost a consultant type situation. I believe the town is a member already.
We are.
So there may not even be a cost to it.
Well, the town does pay a fee for that, an annual fee, and,
Okay.
yeah.
Unless,
No, that'd be great. I have no pride in authorship. That's awesome that you got us to that.
and this just fell, it's just Googling.
Yeah.
And then why don't we communicate on so we don't duplicate what we're doing?
That's
Great.
perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm so keen on the FOIA types of, we can chat, right? I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna chat on the process.
On the topic. Yeah,
Okay.
and then of course, report back to
Yeah,
the
of
full
course.
commission. But, so, let me also add, there's a second resource that's also available to us, and I'm gonna get this wrong, Deanna, so jump in if I've got it wrong, but it's WestCog. So it's the Western Council of Governments, I believe, and that's also about 9 towns represented in WestCog. Also, we pay, I think we pay a fee to be a member of that, and also a source of information on other towns that are in the WestCog. And how many are there? 4? At the costs and so forth about charter revision and so forth.
And
So
is there a contact over there that would be leading that?
there is a gentleman by the
Yeah.
name of, go ahead.
At Westcott?
Yeah.
It's Francis Pickering is the head of Westcott.
Okay, so I'll just repeat. So Francis Pickering is, and the first selectman will give us the contact details for Mr. Pickering,
All
so.
right, so I'll
Okay.
follow up on this and maybe you can.
I'll do
follow
that
up.
and then
We'll talk.
we'll connect.
Great.
Sure.
So 2 great resources that we already have available to us. The actual document that Steve is referring to, it's an info kit, I think it's
Right, it's
called.
like 300 pages.
300 pages, it's up on the public packet, and a big chunk of that is what we already have produced. So, but take a good look at that. Okay. So even though we are, Todd, and you might still be looking at whether there's a third alternative, I want to go forward with the 2 forms of the budget request. One will be for the appropriation, and this is also in your public packet. I didn't print it out, but I would suggest that we go forward to the Board of Selectmen with the first request of the amount that's going to be required. There is a contingency portion of that as well. So perhaps it might cover if we do need the resources of a third party at a fee, over and above what the town already pays. So if anybody, and then we'll also go in, because it's also part of the start of the budget cycle for 2026, we will also use that same document that was shared with us by the town council, by Christina Ross, and we'll submit it as is. And if there's any changes, we can always go forward and make those requests. But any other changes that people would want to, yeah.
Just a question on consultants. So
Yeah.
in terms of going forward, how would one of the committee members engage the consultants? You know, is there a approval process first
Yeah.
before we go out and even ask them to apply that? And then second, and probably somewhat more important, is how do we validate that that particular consultant actually has something to offer in the area of engagement?
Well, so that's a very important point.
Particularly the one that's heavily in a positive way, the report that you wrote 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I think that's an important point. Whenever we, and you know, Todd and Steve are looking at consultants and so forth, we first of all, have to know, why do we need a consultant, right? So is there something that we're missing? And so if we were to engage the consultant, yes, it would have to be approved by this body. Set 1, 2, the budget amount, we'd have to see whether or not it already exists in the budget, or if we'd have to ask for additional funds. 3, anytime you're going to engage a consultant in any body here in the town of New Canaan, typically you go through an RFP process, we'll interview the candidates and then pick the one that you know serves our needs. I don't know that we've identified what we might need a consultant for just yet, So it would be a process, and that could lead into a number of meetings so far that, right now we're kind of tight on time, but if there was a need, I would say that that's how we pursue
It
it.
could be very valuable.
Mhm.
When we get the report, we don't want to be arguing over the credentials, so the process you outlined.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments about the budget and any other items that we might need to add?
Only that it's posted as the same one as the December 2nd.
It's the same one, hasn't changed.
Right.
Hasn't changed. Yes, Chris.
So the discussion from the last meeting was not solely about consultants, so that is, seems to be proceeding on its. Sorry, the discussion at last meeting was not solely about the consultants, and that seems to be proceeding on its own track. It was whether or not we should be represented by council other than the town's council.
Right.
So where do we stand on that matter?
Well, I think two things. One, and I think the last, correct me if I don't remember this correctly, but the last conversation was, and I think Todd, you led the discussion on this. Don't think we need a additional legal counsel, but potentially we need a consultant. And correct me if I've got that wrong.
That
but
was
that's-
my opinion. I thought we discussed that the legal issues are legal issues, but if we have a consultant for issues that go outside of legal stuff, that we would engage that as a team if we thought we needed it. But that we didn't think there was a conflict that couldn't be waived or used to keep this law firm. That's where I thought we were.
That was a general consensus, unless somebody has another thought.
Well, we still have to make a decision with respect to council.
Yeah.
So,
Do we?
do we retain the one that is, currently provided, or do we get our own?
Okay, I thought we
So-
had consensus on that, but let's go around and make sure
Well,
we do.
we didn't have a vote. We had a
We
discussion.
did not have, we had a discussion.
So call the question.
Okay. Jennifer, you had something you wanted to add?
No, I was just concurring. I think we had a dialogue about what would be the role of the consultant and what's the role of legal at that point. That, to your point, though, that wasn't resolved, though, if we need a new time.
Okay.
Well, legal, the need for counsel is, I don't think debatable. We absolutely have to have counsel.
Yes.
No new.
The question is, who will be our counsel?
Mhm.
Whether we need a consultant or not is another subject, quite independent from
Mhm.
whether we have counsel or not.
So let's take the first point, yes. Let's take the first point that you raised, Chris, and I will put out the question. Does anybody feel that we need, in addition to what we've already been assigned by the Board of Selectmen, and that's Birch and Moses and Nick Bamonte, who is the attorney, does anybody feel the need to consider a second, because they're not going to go away, they're still the town's attorney, but if we have our own independent attorney. All those in favor of searching for an independent attorney, and I'll first ask for a motion and then discussion.
Oh, no.
Okay, so moved. So Chris moves that should we seek an independent counsel for the Charter Revision Commission? Is there a second?
So I just want to be clear. So your motion is that you want a new counsel.
I want to look at the possibility of having another counsel.
Then I'm just going to interject. I think the appropriate motion is, do we want to retain Birch and Moses? If that's conclusive, then I think that ends that discussion, because otherwise
Right.
we're making a motion to have a discussion.
Right,
And you
no,
you don't generally make motions to have discussions. You make motions to vote something.
yeah, I defer to Todd. I think it's a better question.
Okay,
And then we could make a motion second, and then we could have discussion about it.
Absolutely.
And then we could vote yay or nay. I think that's
Yeah,
appropriate,
no,
right?
that's what we want. We want clarity.
And so I'm gonna make a motion that we retain Birch and Moses as the town's attorney for the CRC.
okay.
I'll second that.
Second, Angela. Okay, let's
Any
take it
discussion?
now. Discussion, yes. And I'll just go around the room, starting with our vice chair.
A couple of thoughts, and I said this the last time. I really think you need to keep a distance. There's just too many polarizing issues in town. And we're not here to litigate any of them. That's not our job. We don't want to get involved. But we want to at least have the credibility of being independent. And I don't think using the same counsel as Beach and Mimosas as the town was is an appropriate move for us. I've seen too much of this kind of thing, and I just think you want to have the credibility in the public of being independent. And that doesn't mean that They may not be useful at a certain time, but they wouldn't be the ones that I would rely on for meeting after meeting, after issue, after issue, after public hearing. I think, and then of course, if you end up with an FOI or something, you'd have to use them separately. But I think somebody who's done this, that's separate, that's had a very good background experience, and certainly other towns have done so, I would support that. And I'm happy to do the search with you. I've done this enough, so I don't know, you would know more than I do, Todd, but.
Would there be a budget item that?
Well, I think you don't want to pay for a consultant and an outside counsel and town council. I said that last time. I think if you're using outside counsel, that's where your money should be. I would hope that within these other two, at least that we've talked to, that maybe that would already be covered by the town's obligation to support them. So maybe it wouldn't be, we have to find out, but maybe it would not be an additional expense.
Karen?
Well, my initial thought, just based on what I thought could come up, was that our existing council would be fine.
You just move that mic there.
Yeah. Although I know that Judy has done this before, and probably has more insight into that. But I saw it as mostly questions coming up about FOIA, which, I feel like our town council or town attorney could answer. So that's my thought on it.
Chris, did you want to add to your comments?
My primary reason for suggesting that we have other counsel is one of avoidance of conflict of interest. And because the Beach and Moses is retained by the town, paid by the town, and that the selectman's office and the town council are directly involved in that contract, setting that contract, retaining them. One could argue at the margin that there is could be a conflict of interest, and for that reason, I would favor having our own counsel.
Okay, Bill?
A lot of people have a lot of experience that I don't have around the table, certainly in the government county, but I'm comfortable where we are, not going forward with separate counsel. I see there's a risk of having two different councils. One, we get, FOIA advice from the town's council, and we get different FOIA advice from our council, and then what do we do? And to be quite truthful with you, I don't really need general counsel to help me make up my mind and form an opinion. I mean, in fact, I don't even care what they have to say. I'll look at the facts, I'll make a decision, and the only thing I want to know from them, is it legal or not legal? I don't want to call them into the room and have them change my mind as to whether someone should be 10 feet tall or 2 feet tall. I got that, figured that out. That's all the work we're going to be doing. So I for one, and then if we have a situation where we're really concerned about conflict, then we'll go out and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll go out and hire counsel. If we have an issue we're concerned about conflict, I think we need to talk to some people in town. To be quite truthful, just because we're citizens doing a job. It would be really troubling to me if we got to that point. But if we did, we'd go out and hire a counsel. And at that point, we might pinpoint the particular type of counsel with some particular expertise on the subject that we're dealing with.
Okay, thank
I'd
you.
just say I would be in favor of staying where we are right now.
Okay, thank you.
I concur with Judy and Chris. I think we do need outside counsel. I think the separate counsel would be probably cleaner and not invite any sort of issues at the start. So I'm in favor of that.
Thank you, Todd.
I'm comfortable with existing counsel. I think if there's a conflict, they'd have to come to us and say, we have a conflict. I think that rests upon them to say that there's a conflict. They're professionals. They've been doing this for every town. And I think Bill's right. They can answer legal questions. They're not going to be persuasive to me as to how I vote on something, and nor should they be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think consultant fits in if we need it. So for me, legal issues are fine for them to be dealt with. And if they have a conflict, they'll either let us know or it'll be apparent to us, and we'll move on it.
Okay. Steve?
I'm comfortable with current counsel, with the idea that we could bring in technical resources, consulting resources, and have the council just opine on legal issues.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
I think we need to be independent both in substance and appearance.
And the charter that we're revising is the one that they have their name on. So in effect, we are reviewing work that they've approved. And obviously, people sometimes can be defensive, protective. So I think the case for changing is strong.
Okay. Angela?
I'm comfortable at this stage with Bertram Moses. I agree with what Bill has said and Todd has said. If we find that there is an issue where we suspect a conflict of interest, then we stop, we pause, and we hire somebody independently. But I'm also swayed by the practicality. We have been given a really short time to get this revision done, and the process we'd have to follow to have independent counsel appointed is really what we would have to do with a consultant. We've got to research, we've got to find counsel that we like, we've got to have a meeting with CRC, we've got to think about the funding, go to the Board of Selectmen if we need additional funding, and we definitely have to put out an RFP, and that slows things down. And in the meantime, I think, we'll be relying on Bertram Moses. And often what we're going to be asking about is really, can we do this? Is this legal or not? Yes or no?
Okay, thank you. Russ?
I think we stay with Bertram Moses. And the reason being is in the time that I've worked with them, I've never seen a situation where they wouldn't declare or really ever be influenced or conflicted, where they wouldn't bring that immediately forward. The consultant I think is reasonable because, having a true outsider and potentially a little bit more explorative view of how things are set up, I think is very valuable. But I think that I don't see a situation where they would be unduly pressured by any other elected bodies or other as we review the charter. So that's just my sentiment.
Right. Okay. I think we heard I'm not changing what I said 2 weeks ago. I think we would stay with, that. It was my vote, and you'll hear it in just a second. I suggest that for all the reasons I heard that we stay with Bertram Moses. And I will say they didn't write the town charter, the changes. Their name is because that they were the town council, but it was written by the Charter Revision Commission. And it was also the work that was done is being cited as a sort of a model for how this should be done. So I think just separating that, I think they will be independent enough for us. And if they're not, and in the case of 10 years ago, where we chose independent counsel to support us and won the case that was against us. So in that case, we do reach out when it is appropriate, if needed. But anyway, that's just his opinion. And so remind me, Todd, what was
So we had a
the,
motion and a
two.
second. We've now had argument or discussion.
yeah,
And I think there should be any more discussion. And if
Right.
not, I think you
the
take a
vote
vote.
was for though, what was it?
Whether or not to
retain
retain Bertram Moses as our
or the
counsel.
Charter Revision
Was to
Commission?
retain.
To retain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually they'll vote yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a vote, all those who are willing to retain Bertram Moses for the Charter Revision, please raise your hand. How many do we have here?
7.
7. Okay, 7, and all those opposed?
And I think we should put it down in the minutes, probably who was for.
Oh, we have
and
to.
okay, I
There's
just wanna make
actually
sure,
a
yeah.
separate section for votes specifically.
Okay, good.
Did we get the whole 11? Any abstentions?
No, it was 7-4.
It was 7-4. Okay, all right, thank you. And let me just say, I do appreciate those who have a different
And
perspective.
so do I.
Yeah.
100%. It's a real,
1,000%,
very
right.
reasonable argument.
Not at all, not at all. And it was a good discussion.
Would it be permissible to note in the minutes that if we had a situation, I think we agreed.
Yes.
Well, we would not do that.
We're gonna discuss
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah,
Everybody
and
understands.
Karen's taking the notes of the minutes. We'll make sure that's in the minutes. Yeah, thank you.
And we have Nick on right now, and I'm sure Nick would be the first one to say if he believed there was a conflict at any point, he would step up and let the CRC know about that, correct?
It would be the first thing I would let the CRC know. Good evening, everyone. I just didn't want my face up on the screen staring at everyone while you had the discussion, but
A little raw, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think the discussion was a reasonable one and a prudent one to have. But at the end of the day, I agree. I'm not going to be opining on the substance of whether or not you think something is a good idea. You know, we see our role as, is it legal or not? So understanding, appearances aside, that is how we see our role. That's how we will do our duty here. So happy to assist the commission.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on. So this topic started with the budget, and so let's get a vote on the budget too, in terms of the process that we're going to go forward, and that's going to be for both an appropriation for this current year from the town's budget contingency, and then we'll also be doing a budget request for the 26-27 fiscal year.
Make a motion for the budget.
Has a figure been put forward?
Yeah, so that's in that document that was put in the
December
public packet.
Yes, okay, fine.
Okay,
That's the same. yeah.
okay.
So make a motion for the
So
budget
Russ
as
Kimes makes a
presented
motion.
on December 2nd, special meeting and public hearing packet
For 25 and
for
26.
25 and
I'll
26.
second the motion.
Okay, Todd Lampert seconds the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Okay, we will be sending that to the Board of Selectmen this week. When is the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
January 6th.
Okay, do you need that information beforehand too for budget purposes for next fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get that into you. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along. Let me do my time check here. Okay, item 6, charter revision public input survey. And I have to thank Karen and Jennifer for the work they've done. They submitted a draft of questions that we would propose putting forward on our on the newcanaan.info website under our charter revision. We might also explore whether there's a way to put it right on the homepage of the town website to be determined. But why don't we ask Karen and Jennifer just to take us through the process here, and what are you suggesting?
So I think the overall goal that we have here is to collect feedback from the community in a generalized fashion. We're trying to keep it targeted to basically charter only type of elements. So what you'll see in your basic distribution was questions that were basically would be in as part of the survey. And just for some housekeeping purposes, we have one license for SurveyMonkey, which we can use. So this is a possibility. And then
When you
Karen,
say, sorry, Jennifer, when you say we, is that the town?
the town,
Okay,
yes,
thank
the
you.
town has a license. What we're proposing is putting a link to once the survey has been created on the town website as well as the CRC website. And then Karen, do you want to walk through the dates that you put forward?
Yeah, so we were thinking to leave it open, just generally speaking, until March. And so the timeline for the date would be basically by January 6th is when we would want to get it out. So we would have to get approval from this group on what the questions are being created, but the technicalities worked out of where it's going to be communicated and everything, and launch it on the 13th. Forgot it moved over there. So the idea would be to launch it on the 13th and then close it in March, maybe around the 3rd. And the 17th is when we would send the final analysis for here to find the report. But throughout that process, at every meeting, we can bring the feedback back here that we're getting along the way so that we can be used as part of your interviewing.
Yeah, I suggest that.
So we would have an
Yeah.
ongoing sort of update that would go on, how many surveys sent out, how many surveys returned, what were some of the responses, the summarization of those responses, which would be fed back to this group. And then at the end of the day, we would take the full survey results and create one last final summary report out. Yep.
Have you discussed how you're gonna get it out to the public so that they know it's on the website, what channels you're looking for distribution?
We mentioned this last time, yeah.
So a couple ways. One, actually, I was just recorded for a podcast for the New Canaanite. And so I mentioned that we're doing a public survey and it's going to be posted on the website and so forth, but more detail, because I didn't have all the detail, will follow. The first selectman actually posted on her newsletter, and that goes out monthly. Yeah, yeah.
Second Thursday.
So we'll do that again as
That's
a
really the most
reminder.
important thing is how do we get it out there so that we get just not the people that are really focused on it, but a broad range of.
Sure, yeah.
And then there's
People
also
who are
the
interested.
coffees at the Sentinel that we can announce this, as well as the New Canaanite.
Right.
Yeah,
The
that's it.
library.
And the library,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And would you have, could you have links at all those other sites, like library's website and the
We can explore
the
this.
Sentinel's
Yeah.
website, to just click right into the survey?
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce, yeah.
Those are great ideas.
Yeah, so how
Yeah.
do you make sure that it's one comment per person? And not one person sending in 30?
Yeah, so it is a challenge. Actually, the town did a survey some years ago and actually used SurveyMonkey as well. And their procedure was basically to review IP addresses. It's not perfect. You review IP addresses and try to eliminate duplicates. You look through it. So it takes them a bit of, manual analysis to make sure that you're capturing unique.
And who would do that for us?
The two of us would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy.
If you did IP addresses, if you went to the library, you'd have a different IP address.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's not a perfect science, but you can also read through them and see if they're duplicate. You have to make some judgment calls. But I think that worked well for the last survey that the town did as well.
So just to reframe this, to be clear, if you went on the New Canaanite or you went on Sentinel or any of those, when they do an article, the link for the town newsletter site would automatically, you could hit that as
A link for
opposed-
the survey.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
but the survey would go through the town's
No.
site, or it would not. Are you doing an?
You're going to SurveyMonkey at that point.
Yeah, it goes out to survey.
Goes straight to
Oh,
survey.
it does.
Yeah.
Goes straight to
Okay.
SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey reports your IP address from which
Okay.
you are accessing from.
Mhm.
It takes its information. We can ask for name and email address as well. And then at that point, then you start to fill in the survey or save it and come back and fill it in and then submit it.
All right. That's not-
Then your submission is then revalidated with that basic IP address.
And the IP address would protect us from like a hack bomb?
Technically, no. In the world of
Hopefully.
data, I can tell you, you'll get spam. But what you'll see is a bunch of, what you can do with an IP address is actually look for the location of the IP address. So if it says Pakistan, there might be somebody traveling, but I think 100 results from Pakistan would not be
Pretty clear.
pretty clear you have an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had one, and Joe, I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
In the last survey, the 2016, am I correct? Only 4 people responded?
We didn't do a
Oh, you
survey.
didn't do a survey.
No.
We only had 4 people from the public from the residents that were actually included in the report. And so in an effort to make it a larger number, most people won't understand what the charter is. But if we give them just a small statement up front that say the charter has 23 articles, that says parking commission, planning and zoning, board of finance, those are the things I think people will respond to and be interested in talking about. The charter is just a term,
So an intro perhaps.
some
with-
type
with
of
a
an intro
link-
that says,
With a link to the current charter.
with a link to the charter.
That's a good idea.
If you want to do some more research, click here and you
Yeah.
can look at the
But the
charter.
buzzwords, the things that will get response will be the individual.
Sure, absolutely. I have one other thing about timing. As I think about the report that is due from us to the town council, which is May the 4th, if not earlier, should we, and we'll have drafts and they'll be going around. I'm wondering if we will get some responses after our first draft is shared and that people will say, oh, now I understand what
Yeah.
you're talking about, because
That's
there's
a good
really
point.
context of what changes are taking place.
I'm
If they're not tuned into these meetings, I don't know that they know always the subject matter unless they started seeing drafts of the report.
Well, we sort of discussed that and we thought about what's the initial survey really about? and it's about gathering opinion, gathering input. I could see where you could append a survey to ask about the proposed, or create a second survey to get input on the proposed draft. That would be logical. Because what you want to do, what you'll notice by these questions that Karen and I sort of designed, is that they're really all about what, you know, your opinions, your experiences, your satisfaction levels at that point. What revisions do you want to see be made? And then if you want, we can always have a second survey that can go on about then comments on the proposed readout.
And also this doesn't replace the ability for people to just email us.
Of
Right.
course, no, absolutely.
right.
Yeah, no,
Good
this is a
point.
supplemental
Yeah.
source.
This is a structured way of
Right.
gathering input.
Yes,
I mean, I think you've done a really nice job, Karen and Jennifer, putting this together. It's not too long and it's very open-ended, which is always good. I just had one area where I wondered if perhaps there was scope for an additional question, and that is people's views on elected versus appointed members of town government. It seems to me that this is an issue that has already arisen, and we could invite people to give us their point of view. Did you think about that?
And I did actually a little bit. I thought it might be leading the witness a little bit to have that as an exact, you know, there's so many issues that we're going to be talking about, you know, how many do you want to put on there? And if you ask somebody who has relatively little opinion or thought on that, they're going to form an opinion to answer that question. So that was my thinking. I'm not really set either way on whether we have that kind of question or not. But we do have plenty of places, I think, in the questions that are free form where you could leave your opinion on that.
Well, we can always append what we've done to also add term limits, term length, if we can want to expand the scope in general. We heard that from a number of participants at the open, inviting for the public. So yeah, that's fine. It's not an issue, but I think we should ask it all comprehensively at that, from the articles that we are going to talk about next.
Yeah, I think, right. And I think it's actually leaving it open-ended just now, I think is more appropriate that, in my view, than asking for their opinion without hearing the consultation from
That's right.
11
Have a
people
turn,
who are
yeah.
doing the work, who are doing the studies. You know, there might be an inclination to go one versus the other without hearing the benefit of the discussion. So I would prefer not putting that. I mean, that's what the November 6th is going to be all about, the actual vote after they've been hearing the pluses and minuses of any change to the charter. So I don't think I want to use this tool as something that is lets them vote early. It's rather, you know, share your opinion. We welcome those, but I think if it gets into too much detail right from the beginning, it's not where I think we should start. Go ahead, Bill.
You know, I like the idea of a survey. I like what was done. I guess, you know, a long time ago, I learned, you know, don't do a survey unless you plan on following the advice you get.
Yeah.
And, you know, with 20,000, well, you know, 20,000 people in town, I don't know how many vote and so on, but let's say 10,000, you know, what happens if 100 people say yellow? You know, how does that influence us? And, you know, from a FOIA standpoint, we have a document that says 100 people said yellow, and you decided to go with red. You know, whatever the question is, whatever the answer is. I'm just trying to think that through a little bit. And also, when we write our report, you know, we had a survey that gave us this information. I mean, we may study it and say, good input, yellow was a good color, but we just didn't like the answer. And we thought through this enough to get to the end. And I like an idea of a survey because I think people should have a chance to say something. We should have a chance to listen. But at the same time, I'm not sure about connecting the dots.
So Bill raises a good point. I actually, I don't know that if I suggested the word survey, forgive me, because I don't really view it as a survey.
Right.
I view it as another way the public has an ability to share their thoughts with us, just as they do in this room And, you know, frankly, if we've given the time and we didn't have a survey or a written way that people could submit their thoughts, well, they could have submitted by email. But this is the
Yeah, I
way
call it
that,
something.
in addition, yeah, not really a survey, but it's really a way to give public input in a way that they can't make it at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday in person. So this is a way to gather their thoughts via a vehicle.
It's sort of a structured input method.
Questionnaire.
So,
Right.
so if that's the case, then this becomes an input form, and the optional question 11 now becomes required because we want to know who you are and your address. And that also gives us a security that person submitting the data is likely to be the real person, because now they have to say who they are.
Well, I
Just the
think,
same way that they would say who they are
yeah,
if they were sitting in the room.
I think we'd be less likely to place weight on a response which came in anonymously versus somebody putting their name and email address. I mean, we did talk about that problem a little bit the last meeting of, you know, anybody, if we accept anonymous submissions, anyone could submit anything and multiple times. I think calling it perhaps a questionnaire or a request for input.
Or share your information, just, you know, make it
Yeah.
light, you know, not.
Yeah.
If 100 people say yellow, that would qualify as what's known as descriptive statistics. It's not projectable on a population of 20,000. So it's nice, but if we got 1,000, we got a projectable number, then somebody would say, hey, this is something you should be looking at. So if it gets to 1,000.
No, I think your point's well taken,
Yeah.
Joe. Are we prepared to say 1,000 people said yellow, so don't study it, it's going to be yellow?
I think we have to be. If 1,000 people said yellow, the cover will be yellow.
Well, you know, one of the problems with that is sometimes you have aggrieved groups that have solidarity and they rise up the loudest. It's not necessarily the will of the people, it's the will of that group. And since they're aggrieved, they're more likely to respond. And that could sway what is fair and reasonable for other people that don't have the same inclination to respond because they're happy with the way things are. So I don't necessarily agree that if that many,
To hear from 1,000, it could be that they were dedicated,
that's why I
yeah,
think
targeted.
what
group.
Chris said is true. You know, the name going down and the address, maybe that leads to a common belief in a common area, but not necessarily the will of the people. So it's an interesting issue.
I
I
think
think it's really good.
Todd and Bill raise a larger point, which is the decision-making model, which is if we have 1,000 people that say yellow, and we see some other data that we're going to put a higher value on, we have to be somewhat consistent in our decision-making model from issue to issue. We can't say, well, 100 for yellow is this, but over there it's not. So I think that was a question that I had, is how we're going to form as a group into a decision model, because one of the things we will get a lot of is qualitative information and not a lot of quantitative information. One of the points I was going to talk about tonight is the quantitative side. So I would just raise the challenge that we need to think about how we want to work as a decision model, because we don't really have a precedent. And
Okay, Steve, you had a
Well,
point.
I just wanted to reinforce that I think it's important to be able to identify the name and email address of anybody submitting information, and to call it a questionnaire and not a survey, because that fixes the issue.
Yeah.
And I think this is good work and we should go with it on a timely basis, getting it out.
It's well said.
I mean, it's like the crowd that appears for the town council meeting, you know, they're generally going to be focused on a particular theme. It could very well be subject to that as well, where there's an email that goes out, make sure you send in your comments about this and such, you know, and you'll get inundated with that, but that's fine. I mean, that's how it works. That's input. So there's a couple things. Let's get a consensus here. Everybody be comfortable with name and email address on the questionnaire. Any objections to that? Okay.
Just for some background, the reason why we had put that as an optional was that there was a dialogue last time about confidentiality.
Right.
and getting some opinions where that we're getting more information or more qualitative information from people if they could remain confidential.
Right.
And this allows that to occur in a easy way. I'm not for it or against it. I'm just giving you the background of why it was optional and solves that problem in case that was what we were sort of desired to do.
May I add, the POCD survey, I believe, required name and email or something to that effect. So I
Thank
think
you.
we have a precedent on the POCD
Yeah.
survey.
I do. I think if you want to be heard,
You gotta say. it.
Speak up. Yeah,
speak up or
Yeah.
forever hold your peace, you know?
Yeah.
so.
yeah. Yes,
Appropriate for me to ask a question?
of course, Eric. Eric Tunham asking a question from the audience. Yes.
Would we not want people to put their name and street address? You don't know that they're in New Canaan?
So actually, great point. And I was told after our last meeting that people don't have to give their street address. They could just say, I'm a resident of New Canaan. And I think you have a section here,
How long have you been a resident?
how long, and there's also, I'm not a resident. Yeah.
That
Okay.
covers.
Question from the audience
Yeah.
again, and Kim Norton, please.
Yeah, just from my own training, doing research and surveys, one does usually get more candid responses if the name is optional. So there's a way to gather the data and take the person's personal information and separate it from the actual information.
Yeah.
So that's just something I just wanted to throw out there because I know you had that whole discussion about confidentiality. But in a survey of aggregate data, it's a little bit different, and Nick can speak to that as legal counsel. It's a little bit different in terms of that confidentiality. I think you're gonna get more candid responses, but that's up to you all to decide. I just wanted to add.
Thank you, Kim. So there is a technical feature of SurveyMonkey, I believe, you can tell me, that enables sort of the separation of, this is my email address and name and so forth, but I want it separate from the actual input that I gave. Is that correct? Can you
We'll have to
separate?
look into that.
I think you're able to do that.
Yeah, but I don't know if, it depends on who you mean can see it. So we could always have that information and not share it.
Yeah.
But if I'm an administrator of that survey,
Yeah.
I think I can still see it.
But it's-
Which is
But I-
fine.
Yeah.
No, but that makes it
But
FOIA.
FOIAble, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
be
no, that's for
prepared
sure.
for this to be FOIA,
Yeah.
so.
Avoid it.
FOIA.
Right.
At
So
that
if you're,
point, if it's on the town, sorry, on SurveyMonkey, it's
Boy,
public.
It's FOIA, yeah.
Kathleen Tucker Murphy here. I don't mean to interject, except that I'm the one who runs the SurveyMonkey for a lot of the surveys that we've done in town, and we have the very basic membership. So I'm not sure, if we have the ability to do what you guys just talked about of the separating out. I can look into it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Is there any way to put confidential here, or is that not? No.
well, I don't think it is confidential if it's.
Well, that's
FOIA.
my question.
Yeah.
Legally, I'm not sure.
I mean, they could
So,
not, that's why we had it optional, because
Yeah.
then it's, the feedback's not confidential, but we don't.
Feedback's not confidential.
No, I get.
But
that,
if you
yeah.
don't have to fill that in, then it becomes confidential. And you're only down to your IP address.
So what are we talking about here that should be so concerning to somebody that they don't want their name associated with it?
Well,
I think election of boards, commissions.
or
I don't
maybe
see
something
that
more
as-
personal, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew Brooks, please. If somebody said, I think the town treasurer should be an appointed position. Let's just say somebody says that, and their best friend is the current treasurer. They might feel uncomfortable about that. That's the only example I can come up with, but, and forgive me, Andrew, but, we always have to separate the person from the position. But anyway, so that let's go with, you have to provide your email address and your name and see how that works.
And you could put address optional.
I beg your pardon?
You could put address.
Email
optional.
address option?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'll have the IP address.
Email address or street address?
Street address.
You're talking about street address optional.
Yeah, I don't think, and Tucker's online, Tucker's the one who advised us, we do not need
You don't
to
want-
have street address.
So we'll make that.
But an
mandatory.
email address,
'Cause we have-
yes, we'd
we
like
have
email
some.
address.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why I would like to see an email address is because if we had a follow-up question,
Right.
I'd like to reach out to whoever submitted that and say, gee, can you explore this a little bit further with us?
Well, I thought of that. Would you like to be contacted by a member? I mean, you can always add that. We've done that, or I've done that.
Yeah, you can also check,
Yeah.
Check the box. Would you?
Would you like to
Be
be
willing to
contacted?
be-
Or
Discuss.
Willing to have a discussion, however
Right.
you want to phrase it.
Yes,
Some people
Bill.
mention the word confidential.
Yeah,
What does that actually mean here?
Well,
What's?
that's-
Nothing.
is there
we're not
anything-
offering any confidential,
Nothing in the
we're not
world of
offering any
FOIA.
confidentiality.
Nothing's confidential.
Not
So,
even-
but
Yeah.
it is available not only to all, available to the world. I mean.
I beg your
certainly
pardon?
town residents.
Yeah, in theory.
But pretty much everything is FOIAable, so we're working out in the open, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
no,
way
it's
it
fine.
is. We
Yeah,
just,
just wanna
we
make sure
have
we
to
all
be
understand.
Let's see what
transparent.
happens as we go forward, but for now, name and email address required. Anything else? I think I just have a little couple of typo things where it says town, it should be, I think, an ish cap. And maybe even for the charter, but we'll just,
Yeah.
This is coming back to the town, right?
Yes.
it'll be coming back to the Charter Revision Commission,
But who has access to the information?
the Charter Revision Commission.
Only?
Well,
Is it these two that?
The people
I'm
who are
just-
running.
I mean, the fact is, that's my point.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna see this on day one. And they're also gonna see if they FOIA it. I mean, you just wanna be open and honest about it.
What do you mean?
Well,
Everyone's.
when it was
gonna see?
back on the system, anybody wants to look at it, presumably, I guess.
Well, I don't think they see the answers.
We'll have to pull it.
They're not seeing the answers. They're just people are responding to it and it's being fed into, yes, the town, but the two people who are going to be
I think we
reading
should
it.
clarify that in case we're asked.
Sure.
The two administrators would actually.
I understand how-
Is that clear, or we need discussion on that? I mean, who's gonna, if you're
We-
going to.
We have one
Consolidate.
license with one person allowed to log in. We were gonna work with Tucker to find
Yeah.
out about the mechanics.
I think Bill's question, and maybe I'm going a little too far, is can somebody then FOIA all the stuff that we get back and see all of the email addresses and everybody's information?
Sure.
Is that what you're
That's
trying to figure out? The
like-
answer is
Also,
yes.
but also there is no confidentiality.
No,
So if you
that's the
write back
point.
and
We
say,
didn't say there is,
you
no,
know,
no
no
confidentiality.
confidentiality here by
It's-
anybody.
it's
like,
open.
It's just
It's wide open.
wide open from day one.
Yes.
Correct.
But could we treat it as, like an email to town council where I don't think those are published on if somebody sends an email to town council with their opinion, those aren't automatically published anywhere.
That's correct.
If they're FOIAble, of course,
Yeah.
but they're not published.
It-
And so I
again,
think we would
We're
treat the
not
data in that
Suggesting
way.
we're going to publish everybody's input.
Right.
Okay, it's going into the team who's working on taking a look at the needs, that they're available to anybody who needs them, but right now that's part of the report that's going to be
Yeah,
coming to the commission.
I just don't want to hold this out to the public,
Mhm.
that this is coming back to the 11 of us. Because it's, the
Right, that's
way
a-
I understand, it's coming back to people beyond the 11 of us. Because I tried to
Tucker.
use this software
Yeah,
somewhere else, and that became an issue. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we just need to make sure the people who we're telling when they send this in, who's gonna see it, we're crystal clear.
Perhaps Nick and company can give us a little disclaimer at the bottom that says this is subject to FOIA rules and everything else, and you can
No,
put
I
that at
just
the bottom
mean,
of the
I don't
survey
care
and
about
then
the FOIA. I just mean.
just throwing it out there.
What did they do for
Undercover.
PLC?
that's right, Chris. I mean, this is not the first.
That's the
uh,
model.
This isn't-
First
What did they do with
questionnaire.
PLC?
Yeah.
Yeah, just follow that model.
So why don't Karen and I take this back and have a conversation with Tucker
Yes,
about the mechanics of all of us?
Yeah.
But if you have any other questions, like we'll add, would you like to be contacted? Yes or no?
I think,
Yeah.
our
And
discussion.
why don't you send your,
contact or-
unless they're of
Yeah.
substantive nature, let's just send your comments to
Mhm.
Karen
But
and
if someone makes a
Jennifer.
comment about the individual you mentioned before, or these board of selectmen, or anything else.
Pretty open-ended. It's
Yeah,
pretty
but
open-ended.
all of that's gonna be
Is this the people we're speaking to?
Yes,
available to, the administrator and everybody else, and that's fine.
yes,
Because, but at the same time, we just ought to make sure people understand that.
yeah. Whatever we've done in the past with the POCD and other surveys that
there-
have been
yeah.
used.
What's the
And
PLC?
Jennifer and
I don't know all the details, and like Jennifer said, we'll talk to Tucker, but I think that they used a third party to administer that. So there was
I'll
a
talk to
consultant.
Sarah Carey is the one to ask. She's the town planner who ran.
That
it.
is correct.
They ran, and they got really great participation on it. So for 2 points, one, to see how they marketed it, because they actually did a really good job of that. And second, the mechanics. So I'll talk to her on Thursday. I'll try to get some time.
They went to an independent third party.
Right.
Yeah,
They hired a firm.
So,
And
Well, I'll see if there was
what
any
kind
like
of
disclaimers or anything else we need to be worried
I mean,
about.
that's totally different than what we're doing.
Yeah, we're just looking for input, a
Provide,
facility. Yeah.
and one has a statutory
Let's say were
requirement.
they, so were they.
I beg
So
pardon?
was the PLCD. They were looking for input as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the outside firm? Are they, was there a heavy cost to that or?
I think it was quite
Do you
expensive.
know? Nobody. No.
It's generally not, I mean, all they're doing is
Yeah.
electronically accumulating information and feeding it back to us in a fashion.
Mhm.
I can't imagine it's enormously expensive.
Well, my understanding is that the firm that P&Z hired, they can to provide suggestions, recommendations, conducted the survey. I believe that's the case.
At the end of the day, we just want to facilitate people giving us information. We have two individuals who have the skill set to be able to do this. We just need to make sure that we're providing
Yeah.
those who are giving information knowledge beforehand that
But
this
I-
is
you
going to
know,
be subject to
My
FOIA.
background is, I'm an accountant, I've done it for a long time and all that sort of stuff. So, stuff comes in, gets left in a copy machine, it gets printed off. Some town employee says something that was brilliant or not brilliant. Someone sees it, they shouldn't see it by mistake, and then, it just becomes a mess. So we just need to understand what we're getting into. And I would, for me, if we could keep it confidential for a few dollars, I think we should do that.
Well, I don't think we can
There is
under
no-
FOIA.
I mean,
Yeah.
the next phase, but then I do go back to Russ's point about put it on there that what you say,
Yeah, we'll
at
put a
at that point,
disclaimer on
at
it,
that
yeah.
point,
Let's close the
Yeah.
conversation now. I think there's good questions that came up. We'll have some follow-ups. And again, thank you to Jennifer and Karen. And unless is anything else, you can report back to
I
the
think it
full
would be
group.
nice to follow the same format unless for some good reason it doesn't make sense. It's already been done.
Same format as what?
PSCD.
I don't
mean-
think you need to go to an outside.
No,
service.
well, that's my
Yeah.
point, but the questions and the acknowledgements and the retractions and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Whatever
okay.
they did, if it made sense, yeah.
All right, moving on. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Very good input. Okay, data review. And I am going to actually just point to, everybody had a chance to take a look at, we just talked about the CCM charter revision. Take a look at that, the info kit. Unless Steve wants to make any comments about that, but it's a good resource. There's also, thanks to Commissioner Palo, you've submitted some information that I think is quite useful. And rather than bring up those data points right now, whether it's the info kit or the data that Joe has shared with us, I think it's very good information for what's to come next, which is the review with everybody, the interviews and so forth. So unless anybody had any questions about the information, Joe, why don't you give us a minute on just, your source of that data and how did you gather that? Okay.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so so everybody understands what we're taking a look at, Commissioner Palo, go ahead.
I will do this very quick.
Yes.
During our last meeting, a suggestion was made that it might be a good idea to try and get some data that would cut across different articles and different groups. So I was very curious about that, and everything you see on this page was extracted from the charter. There's no intellectual property here, there's no creative writing, it's purely information from the charter. And what I did was to outline all of the departments that are mentioned in the charter. I left out one, the tax collector, forgot that one. And showed how it's empowered by by appointment or elected, how many people are involved, the terms, some other information, and whether they're required to be electors. Now, what this allows you to do is to begin to see things in a continuum as opposed to just silos or as a process. So for example, if you look at the next page, you'll see that all of the land use departments, planning and zoning, zoning board of appeals, inland wetlands conservation, and town planner, I added that in, are appointed. 36 people appointed, 0 elected. Now, this begins to move us from what I would call the qualitative discussion to the quantitative, because we now actually have some data that we can look at. there's other data that comes off the chart. I've got a whole bunch, but we have one person as an assessor who oversees $10 billion of the town property. And we have 5 people adjudicating parking spaces. And when we talk about the numbers of people that we have in each department, that just kind of struck me as interesting. There's also some conflicts in the charter. I would call the attention of my fellow commissioners to section 2-4. And section 2-4 says that any member of an appointed committee can be not only, does not have to be an elector, it doesn't even have to be a resident. So someone from Kansas or Jersey can actually be on the audit committee. For section 2-4. Just take a look. I have it.
So it's not in this packet.
Excuse me?
You didn't put it in the packet.
Oh, I'll give it to you. I got it right here.
Yeah.
It's right here.
But that is just for committees. It's not for boards or commissions.
Right.
Boards and commissions, you have to be
Yes.
a resident.
But there is one that is, the audit committee, where you don't have to even live in the town to be part of. And the actual section on the audit committee says you must be an elector. But section 2-4 just wipes that away when you look at it. And there are other things like that. In this.
2-4 does say that you shall be an elector of the town.
No, keep going, go to the last sentence.
Good catch, 'cause I didn't.
Okay, so these are appointed.
Am I correct? Is it?
So the last sentence in 2-4 is members of appointed committees need not to be electors or residents of the town. And there is an example of that.
Right.
Steve, I'll just be a second. In the TDAC committee, it's a committee, different from a
Right.
commission,
Right,
okay? And different from a board, but for committees, I know TDAC, we have people that don't live in
Right.
the town. So,
right.
yeah.
And that would be consistent with 2-4. That's the point.
Yeah. but-
So
For committee.
all I'm saying is
Committee.
the audit committee is a committee and it's appointed.
Yeah, yeah, probably
therefore it-
misnamed. Yeah,
Yeah.
should be a
Maybe
commission
it's
or board.
misnamed and
Yeah,
we can fix that, but
Yeah.
as of now, 2-4 says you can live in Kansas.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
Wow.
okay. Good catch. Steve,
so,
I was
oh,
gonna
sorry,
say-
Judge. you just-
Well, this is the point, and I did a lot of, there's actually not that many committees. There's
Correct.
quite a few commissions and boards.
right, I understand.
Yeah.
There are a few other things, for example, of the 22 departments on this list, the selectmen are either directly or indirectly
What
involved.
page are you
very
referring to,
first one.
Joe? Oh, okay.
And in the middle column, where you see the first selectman or the ex officio or the purchasing agent, the selectmen have direct involvement with 19 of the 22 commissions. Only the town clerk, the zoning, the Board of Assessment Appeals, and the treasurer are independent of direct involvement with the selectmen.
Right.
So it allows you to look across, and I would encourage those of us who get involved with the Board of Finance to look at the budgeting process from across this process of appointed and selected. If I may go on, so we covered land use. The third page that you have is intended to be an external view. And the external view is I took Fairfield County and I took all of the towns in Fairfield County, 23 of them, using the census and a data site called Data USA, which is managed by Deloitte and MIT, and a few of the town websites. So we looked at the towns that have charters or not charters, and you see most of them have charters like us. You have the population, but then I added owner occupied, because owner occupied is a metric that's used by investors, particularly banks, because it indicates stability for a community, higher voting rate, higher community involvement. And then I took, again, the land use, planning and zoning, Board of Appeals and wetlands, and I threw in Board of Finance. And so you have 4 major boards here, and it shows you in Fairfield County, how many are appointed and how many are elected. So if you go one more down, I focused in on what I'll call our peer group. Now, you can define our peer group differently, but I took the towns, 6 towns bigger than us and the 6 towns smaller than us. And basically what you see is New Canaan is the only town on this group of 13 towns that appoints planning and zoning. It's the only town to appoint the Board of Finance. It's the only town to appoint all three land use commissions, wetlands and Board of Appeals. And the only town that matches our profile, back on the previous chart, is Norwalk. So I think that as we generate this type of quantitative information, and finally, just to summarize, there's a chart, and what I did was I plotted the mean population for the towns that have planning and zoning appointed, and the mean populations for the towns that have planning and zoning elected, and put that on the other axis with the percent of owner occupancy. And what you see is that the appointed towns have much larger populations and lower occupancies, and New Canaan almost is a direct match for the towns that have the profile that fits us. So the point here was to attempt to try and get some continuous process data that we could all use. There is no pride of authorship here. I encourage my fellow commissioners to add, rearrange, correct, or however you feel necessary. But I thought this would be a good starting point.
I would suggest that when you start looking similar towns, we follow what Board of Ed does, the DERG, and use those towns, which would be Richfield, Wilton, Darien.
This will allow you to do it. You can just strip them out.
Yep.
Because, we know, some Bethel, some of these places,
Yeah, that's not.
it's not exactly us.
Right. I didn't want to go too
But
small.
your point is on the previous page that almost everything is, you differentiated appointment versus election, and that's input.
Seems that most towns that have high levels of appointed officials have low owner occupancy
That's
levels.
exactly right.
Yeah,
That's exactly what the data shows.
that's exactly what it shows.
Exactly.
The lowest and the highest populations, and we're somehow matched in that group.
That's
A
exactly.
statistical anomaly.
We're unique.
Anomaly, I think it's what the data says.
But that's what.
So there's nothing here that's an opinion. This is basically just the data speaking.
Very fascinating.
Joe.
Thank
Good
you.
work. Good
Yeah.
work.
This is
Joe, just
valuable.
elaborate. I want to make sure I understand. Percentage owner occupied. What does that mean?
Means you own the house and live in it.
You don't rent it out. You don't have it as an investment property.
So even there, we're,
Most of the
you
smaller.
don't have it as an investment property.
The owner lives on the property.
Most of the
Yeah.
small.
So actually, we are lower than neighboring towns.
We're a
Sheet of
little lower,
paper.
yeah, I didn't
Sort of
want to bring
interesting.
that up, but we're just a touch lower, yeah. But I understand banks use this information for adjusting loan rates. And that's why I put it in, because it begins to give us perspective from a quantitative standpoint that we wouldn't naturally have just by looking at one article.
And where'd you get this from?
He did
The
it.
data,
Yeah,
I did.
you did.
Data
Okay.
USA.
That's not AI.
Okay.
Are we sure about the
But-
what
but the-
percent of owner occupied? It seems.
Well,
that
I'll tell you
seems
where
low.
it comes from. It comes from Deloitte and Touche and MIT.
Gosh.
Because
Well,
they
they're
were
terrible.
Pretty good institutions, if I can say so myself.
Well, you were gonna be People's Exhibit A when the question
No,
came up.
we have a lot of two-family housing and other
We have
things.
a lot
don't
of,
you?
lot of,
We do.
Condos.
condos.
We do.
Yeah,
Lots.
we have
Yeah,
fair share.
But condo is owner occupied,
Not
That's
always.
not always,
Not
no.
always.
not
Yeah.
always, but
Yeah.
But
Large-
this is the beauty of
Heritage Hill.
New England local government, in my view, and the state of Connecticut allows municipalities quite a lot of discretion to decide what kind of local government they'd like to have in the structure. So I think that, judgment's going to be an important part of this too.
So, great input, great data, and using that kind of concept of when we look at some of these questions that are before us, and I've shared them on the agenda, but I also shared them in a document that I sent you and also put in the public packet. So if we can move from the data in just a second and go to some of the questions that we've heard in the public commentary, what we've heard as we've taken on this review. So a couple of topics. I don't know that I left any off. I may have, so please jump in here if I've gotten. So some of the comments we've heard are term limits for appointed and or elected positions. There's copies of this up here if anybody wants them.
It's on the agenda.
Everybody get everything?
It's on the agenda back.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
We can share
We
that.
need the original charter.
Oh,
your book back.
Joe, Chris has that.
I still have.
That's okay.
I'll
I'll return it to you.
Okay,
Did
so
you want
here,
to read this?
I beg your pardon?
Did you want this?
No, I'm
Oh,
talking
back
about the
Oh, no, this
agenda.
goes back there.
I got the agenda.
On number 8.
The agenda number 8,
Yes.
right, okay. So, term limits for appointed and or elected positions. I'm not looking for comments just now, but if there's any additions, elected versus appointed positions and boards and commissions. So it's both positions and boards and commissions, not committees. Term lengths, size of the boards and commissions, additions, modifications to boards and commissions, and any other topic. If I left anything off, Jen, you're about to tell me I did. What
I
is
think
it?
we should add a residency to those other points.
Oh, just what Joe just.
Yeah, because that was something I noticed that had been explored, and I think at one point,
A residency for boards and commissions.
Correct.
For if you're appointed or elected. So right now, that requirement is only required for the Board of Finance in the
Right.
charter. And that was put before the electorate 10 years ago.
and one. And was
And
approved.
hands down, that position did not pass.
Oh, it didn't pass.
And
okay.
it was, should the members of the Board of Finance be allowed to rent? We did have a member of the
We
Board of
did,
Finance who sold his house of 30 years and moved to a rental property. And because of the charter, he could no longer serve. So then he went to the town council. And where that provision didn't exist. But so so we said to this has got to be an anomaly, that why we just have one, because it started in 1935 when the charter first came out, it was never amended. And so we said, well, all the other commissions, including Board of Selectmen, Town Council, you don't have to own property, a house. And the electorate said quite definitively, no, you have to have skin in the game.
Right,
So-
you're talking about owning real property.
Yes,
I had a slightly different nuance.
Okay.
If you are a full-time town resident going to your point on that, in that document.
so residency, not just, so
Real
you can,
property,
so you have to be a resident full-time.
right.
So that eliminates Florida? Is that, I mean,
That would mean, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But what's your
Being
legal
resident, but
residence?
not
yeah.
an elector.
It's where you
That
declare
goes to
your-
elector.
But that's-
If you're not allowed to vote here, I don't think you should have,
Yeah, that's where elector comes in, right? You have to.
That's where I was going, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Because they specified elector and resident.
Yep.
They specified both.
okay, well, let's look into that. Residency and
Yeah.
elector.
residency and elector.
I understand, I remember the real property guideline. That's a tightly different nuance.
It
You
is.
can still own real property here, but not be a full-time resident, right? Because you're part of that
Right.
rental group.
Any other,
I suggest that we look again at that provision for Board of Finance. 10 years is a long time. The demographics of the town have changed. There's been a lot of turnover. Naturally, people die, people move in, and it really only affects the Board of Finance. So maybe it's something that we could capture in the work we do on the Board of Finance.
okay, anybody else?
Are we going to include, at the end here, a thought I had is if you buy property or you sell property, town-owned property, should you allow that to go to potential of a referendum? And we saw that at its height, obviously, when we bought Irwin, and I was very happy with the turnout. I was very happy that we had that. I pushed for the idea of, having a referendum. Perhaps if you're selling property, we should do the same thing, whether it's purchase or sale.
I think
thought
that's in
about
the
that over
ordinances.
time.
I believe that's an ordinance.
I'm not sure it is.
Well, it's not in the
It's a-
charter.
I know, but
Yeah.
should it be? I mean, that's a legal
Okay.
question, I suppose. but,
Okay.
Judy, is there a threshold where that becomes important? Like, can the town purchase something for 100,000 without a referendum? Is it 1 million? I mean, is there any limits where the town could just do small things without having referendums, or is it a blanket?
Well, I think when you get into buying or selling property, whether it's town-owned property, the thing that bothered me the most about this, which is why it's at the top of mind,
Oh,
is-
goodness gracious,
is
I didn't know what
the
was going on.
sale of, the
Very.
potential sale of the police station.
Yeah, those are big number takes. I'm just
But
wondering,
I
like,
don't know, the question about small, I don't know. how
This
small
has
it
something
would
to do with
matter.
bonding.
Pardon?
If you were issuing bonds
Well,
to buy.
and this is
Selling,
not-
you're not issuing
That's
bonds.
true.
This is not an exclusive list, right? This is just, these are the things we've identified thus far that
This
should
is
be,
not an exclusive list.
right, so this is,
just a working
we've
list.
identified that should be considered going forward in our discussions.
I think it's worthy of discussion.
Yeah.
Put it on the list for discussion, but it's a.
The draft number.
But it's an open house.
Wait a second.
Okay.
I'm multitasking.
I did this today.
It's a draft number. We'll see.
Right.
Low draft
This is
number
not
or high
for,
draft number.
I thought it might be holiday cookies.
I'm
trade.
multitasking.
Town hall is a
That
cookie
wasn't
competition.
possible though.
Cookie
So-
baking.
Trading was possible.
That's the number you got.
So commissioners, the reason why I brought these themes up is really part of a broader
They are.
allocation of teams that are being established to, don't look.
Oh, that's what is this?
Well, teams that
Oh,
are
I'm
being
sorry.
established to focus on these areas. Remember,
Draft card.
we've got a short window by which we must do a lot of research. And if you look at the materials that were sent out also on the list, I started with the entire charter and the 21 articles. And I just, without knowing who everybody, I asked for everybody's input. Everybody wants to do the same thing. Okay, so priorities. Nobody wanted to pick something else. Everybody wanted to do the same thing. So we're doing a little bit different. There'll be no question as to, am I horse trading for different assignments, et cetera. You've all been assigned to a group here. Now, there will be some trade-offs because I don't want, so the group 1 is 4 people, group 2 is 4 people, group 3 is 3 people. I don't want any of the groups to be all one party. I know we don't think of ourselves in any one political party, but I don't want them swayed in any way,
Right.
shape, or form. So I'm going to ask you to just tell me what group that you picked, and we'll go through this, and if you can just keep a list.
Sure.
So I might have to trade off. You have to throw your thing back in. But let me just tell you how these groups were assigned. So theme-based work groups. Bill Perrette said, gee, rather than maybe being assigned to any particular area of the charter, I want to focus on a theme like elected versus appointed boards and commissions, like elected versus appointed town officers. Like I want to focus on public input. We've got 2 people who have already said, I'm willing to take a look at the public input. There is sewer and water boards and commissions, and where do they fit overall? Term limits for appointed and elected positions and boards and commissions. We only have term limits for one of our boards, happens to be called the Audit Committee. And so there's going to be an investigation to this. And then lastly, there's going to be charter reviews, and Joe gave us an example of what he's done in terms of comparable Connecticut towns. And I don't know that it's all worked out that way, but then I just by number, again, not by person, went through each article and assigned group 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So then by just random choice here, this is what the group is. Tell me how many people, raise your hand, are in group 1 based on, okay.
Did the math work.
Okay, did the math work? Thank you. So Angela, Joe, Steve, and Chris. Okay, that's a good mix. Thank you. Group 2, raise your hand. Okay, so Kathleen, Bill, and Jennifer, and Russ, also a good mix. Okay, I'm just thinking about, again, party
Are you using
allocation.
Ds?
Yes, D's used and ours. And then finally, group 3. Okay. Okay, group 3. Terrific. That's a great mix too. Okay. Now, Bill said he wanted to do some horse trading. I don't think you're fine. Does anybody have any objections to the group that they are in? No? Okay. Let me also say, whatever your assignments we're going to do, I'm going to tell you how we're going to set up meetings with people. Okay. Because they are going to be all the meetings that everybody is available to go to. So if you happen to see somebody in group 3 is going to be talking to someone that you'd like to listen in on, you're welcome to attend. So you're not just committed to your silo, to your group. Okay. Okay. So how are we going to do this? I sent you another list of, and everyone is free to add to it. But a list of people that have maybe of interest to our commission in terms of comments, et cetera, their thoughts on the charter. And so I also assigned, I just looked at, okay, for instance, Paul Foley, okay, he's police commission. So that's in group 3. All right. So that's how these have been assigned based on where they serve as part of the charter. Okay. So the charter was done first, then this. Okay. So if you notice, if you're assigned to group 2 and Tucker Murphy is on group 2, as a group, we determined, let's reach out. When is Tucker Murphy available? And how we're going to set up this meeting. So first of all, all meetings have to be posted. And we're going to send out little instructions as to how you post a meeting. I think you need 24 plus hours.
I believe that is correct.
24 hours to
minimum.
post a meeting. And
More
these
is
are going to
better.
all be special meetings, right? Because they're not regular meetings where you're setting them up. So they're all going to be posted as special meetings, and they're going to be by group, and hopefully everybody in the group can make it. If not, that's why we made them 4 people or 3 people. Not everybody can make it. That's not a problem. So we can actually move pretty quickly on this. And so each group will be, again, it's going to be public, it's going to be posted, and it's going to be 4 people of the group with the individual that's listed here. In some cases, I've listed the full commission, and people are, well, maybe there's one individual wants to do it. Maybe everybody, all members of, say, the police commission want to meet with us together. So that's an option as well. And we'll reach out to these people and say, we're here, we'd like to talk to you. What's your availability? Now, not every meeting, depending on where we're located, they also have to take minutes. Okay, so one of the 3 or 4 people needs to get minutes for the meeting. Okay. And that we can draw straws or what have you, but that's how that will happen. And those minutes will have to be posted as well. There are no votes that are taking place, just minutes. There's not always going to be the opportunity to have a video of the meeting. And that's just because of location. That can be for all kinds of reasons. It doesn't have to have a video running, and that's more of a convenience that we offer, but it's not required. It's not legally required to have a video. So those are the ground rules. We'll put that in writing so everybody has a sense of this. Remember, avoid having a meeting via email. We just need to, if we're going to meet as a group, if group 2 is going to get together and meet, we'll post it so that people can hear it. So transparency, public access, minutes, and these are special meetings. So for posting purposes, that's what we're going to add. That's what we're going to call them. I'm going to call on council. Just a minute. Did I miss anything? Did you hear that dialogue?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything I messed up?
No, those are the highlights. I mean,
Okay.
we can help, drill down on that in a bit more detail as we get there. The minutes do not have to be verbatim minutes, for example. You're not reciting everything that transpires. We can, show some samples of others as well. And then we have Tucker to assist with setting up the notices. So, but no, I think you hit the highlights.
Okay.
Could I
Angela.
just ask one question for clarification? So if a group wants to have an organizational meeting to decide how we go about this, who's contacting who, for example, when we think we'd like to do the meetings, that needs to be posted.
Mhm.
And
Is that a statement or a question?
that's a question.
Nick?
So I think the best way might be to flow. I mean, I'll defer to the chair as well. I think the chair should probably be apprised of what's transpiring in the subcommittees. If not, and the subcommittees are sort of operating on their own, you can have communications about setting when the meeting is going to occur. If you're available, what's actually going to be on the agenda. Those types of communications are permissible. So those do not have to be, you don't fall into a oh, is my email where I'm asking my other subcommittee member, when they're available to meet. Can I do that? Does that constitute a meeting? No, it doesn't. So you can do that. But the actual substantive meeting obviously has to be noticed ahead of time.
I was just thinking it might be easier to have a very brief organizational meeting at the beginning. So we decide what order we're going to try and look at these different bodies. Who is say group one is going to set up the meeting with the folks that we want to interview. And it would just be easier, I think, to maybe have a Zoom call for 20, 30 minutes rather than just, swap email.
And so if we have it, so for an organizational meeting,
yeah,
you're group one, you have all the Cs, or something or other,
Yeah.
just have that. Is that something that constitutes a meeting, Nick? Where we're just allocating from a spreadsheet who's going to be speaking, setting up meetings. It's just meeting setup for now.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough. It sounds like, Angela even said we should just have a quick Zoom call. So we should notice
But
it.
does it constitute a meeting that we have to post that Zoom call as a meeting?
It's not a quorum, no, it's just 3 people or 4 people.
It's 4 people.
The answer is no. But I'll let Nick answer.
Let Nick answer.
No, that's correct. It is not
A meeting.
technically a meeting.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have it, Bill.
So we're doing our interviews. Everybody's style is different, but let's just say, you're on your 5th interview and the first 4 interviews you heard yellow, 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 yellow. And now you're hearing yellow, yellow, yellow. My minutes would say, I met, answer was yellow, I signed a bill. How voluminous do these minutes need to be? What are we, to me, it would be just enough so I could recall, it helped me recall what the
Yes.
individual said in support.
Yeah, the minutes really you don't have to be verbatim what people say.
Yeah.
Well,
You don't.
verbatim is not,
So
my
Nick, can you
objective would be
just
to
send
get it in
us?
one sentence.
Can you
Yes.
send us a standard look for minutes for these meetings?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Bill's on the right track. It can effectively be fairly bare bones as long as you get, who the attendees were, who made any salient comments, what votes were taken on what items, what the result was. And,
If we're gonna meet with 20 people, could we just run it on one piece of paper, We met with Bill, we met with John, we met.
Well, if there are different meetings, no.
But if just draw a line, I'm just trying to
I
make it simple.
think that because we have to post them, they have to be
We have to
minutes
post them.
specific. Yeah, you have to post the
Yeah, they
meetings.
have to have this town format too.
Yeah, there is a format,
They have to follow this
and we'll send that out. So you just.
No, it's format, that, I guess that's what I was trying to.
Yeah, there's a
No,
format.
There's a town format.
Yeah.
That looks a little bit like the
Yeah.
agenda.
And because people,
It's kind of like.
if it's in,
Yeah, no.
if there are people that are gonna come in, like if you're meeting with the first selectman, it's not gonna be in their office, because it is open to the public. So it might be here, it might be some
So,
other room. So
Let's just say it's a one-on-one meeting. Well, I'm sorry, it's four members of the group.
Yeah.
And we meet with somebody.
Yeah.
Do we have to, those minutes are then drafted and posted and approved?
Yes, yes.
And it's a
Who-
meeting, so you
Who
have
votes
to
on the
notice it.
approval?
We do it at our next meeting.
You
We
can
do it at our next
You
meeting,
can do
but
it
the
in your next
individual
group meeting.
We
Yeah.
interviewed has nothing to.
I think you can probably,
The subcommittee.
correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but as the minutes are collected, they're posted, the approval, as long as they're posted as a draft, the approval can take place a month later, collect them all, and there's a vote on all the minutes. Is
That's
that
right.
Because you have, 2 days or 3 days to post the.
48 hours to
48 hours
post it, yeah.
Post a draft
correct?
minutes.
Yes,
And so, it is the minutes of that subcommittee. So
of
when the
that group,
subcommittee
yeah.
meets again, or subsequently, they can approve of the minutes.
They can.
The
Or we
subcommittee
could
does,
do it at-
because it's their minutes, not the whole groups.
Right, or we can do it when we have our commission meeting and set, so where everybody's together, we're
Yeah,
gonna,
but the other two groups could not vote on.
Correct.
So. it's-
those hands wouldn't be risen, but you're also recording the fact of who voted for the minutes. So it's better, let's do it formally here.
And
That's what I
Kathleen,
said.
you're assuming that group 3 would say 4 to 6 o'clock next Thursday, we're gonna hold interviews, notify the people, give them 15 minutes each, call them in and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And you can
Yeah,
do that, absolutely. And it's posted to
Yeah,
the IT help
got it.
desk and the town clerk records.
Got it.
And those are meetings, those interviews that must be then special meetings.
Yeah, they're all special, they're not regular meetings, they're
24 hours
special
notice.
meetings. But we'll give you the format. It's
Yeah.
simple, just put in the date and the time. Let me go
Nick, I
Steve
just-
and then Karen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just
Steve,
have-
Is there a target date to get this done?
great question. Is there a target date? You know, obviously the holidays now is gonna
Next
be
week.
difficult. I would say, January, February is when we can try to get as much of these done. And if some of them are not, but January, February should be our target where we're getting all of this, collecting all this information. Hold on just a second, because I had Karen and then I'll go to Judy, then Joe.
Just for the agendas, special meetings, I'm assuming a lot of topics are gonna come up. Should we just put names for the agenda of who we're interviewing and say?
Yeah, it's gonna be, the agenda is discussion of the charter. That's it.
And then we'll go through the topics that are specific to us in group 3. Because we're not doing the whole charters, we have
Well,
specific items.
Well, actually, you'll find that even though you have group 3 and let's say that's the police commission,
Yeah.
they might have a perspective on something else and they're free to share that with you.
That's fine.
So you're totally open to the
But
whole,
we're
the whole
trying
charter.
to-
You're just focusing on the person. They might have views on the entire charter or different parts of the
Yeah.
charter. They might say, gee, I'm on the police commission, but the fire commission is a little different. Let's,
But at the end of the day,
sort that out.
group 3 has specific responsibilities like Health and Human Services, Assessor, and Board of Assessment Appeals.
Yeah.
So shouldn't we be focusing on those when we're interviewing them, or you want us to focus on?
no, you focus on their part of the charter, but then say, do you have any other
Got it.
comments? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I get it.
And do they keep minutes, those meetings, and then
Yes,
those minutes will
because
be
it-
shared with the other group?
they
Yes.
can be, yes, absolutely, they will.
Shared with everybody.
Everyone, yeah,
Because
their
we'll
input.
each be getting information for other groups.
Again, but the
Yeah.
minutes don't necessarily have the details that you
Yeah.
might be, okay, but you're collecting them as a group.
And are we going to, as a group, individually reach out to each group?
Yeah, so as Angela just said, first we should meet as a group organizationally and say, okay, group 3, we're meeting, who's got what? You're taking the first 5, you're taking the next 5, so however you want to allocate them, okay?
I thought you've already allocated them.
I did, but within your group, you might want to see who's reaching out to these people for meeting schedule. Steve?
Well, Judy was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Just a question, can we do group interviews? Or?
That's
can
how
we-
they are done.
Oh, they are, so
Yeah.
they're not in, because a lot of these names were individuals, but we do,
But some people might say, yeah, I'll sit in with Jim and
okay,
share.
so we
Yes.
try to
You
do
can,
group.
you can do
Okay.
groups, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, Judy.
Go
Go ahead,
ahead,
Judy.
Is it all right? I mean, we've done, different times, we've done different types of minutes from these kinds of meetings. Is it okay to say the following items were discussed?
Yeah, have a standard.
You know, just have can we just all agree with the standard format, and then you could say of interest such, or you don't even have to identify the person. It was mentioned that we should think about blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you get into this kind of lengthy detail, nobody wants to tell you anything. And we've been through this enough times in different capacities to have learned.
Nick is gonna
basic,
share a
very
standard template for minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm just hope if everybody's doing that the same way.
Yeah, oh no, we want to keep it consistent.
And
Maybe
you-
Nick could
and you
send
don't-
something
and
out
You
on
don't
that.
want people to be fearful.
Maybe
they're
Nick
going
could give
to
us a
be quoted
suggestion.
and
He's gonna give us a
repeated
template, yeah,
Yeah.
to work from.
But for
I'll
the,
set, excuse me, I'll send out a form
okay,
template, motion minutes that everyone can work off of.
That'd be great.
Good, okay, Jennifer. And
So
then
just
Joe.
working backwards. We have a report that's due, I believe it was May
May
5th.
4th.
May 4th. When do we have to have all these? So let's walk through this at that point, we'll probably take how long to make a report? A month?
Yeah, takes about a month.
So that's for April 4th. If we then go to that, we'd obviously have to have a lot of dialogue and debate, which we will do March, right? And so then March 4th, we love that number at the moment, but we'll figure out if it's real. And then when do we have to have all the interviews done by?
So January, February, I suggest.
The end of February?
Yeah.
Okay. Just so we have sort of a pace.
But remember, we're gonna have our twice a month meetings
yes.
as well, where we were talking about themes that are coming out of these dialogues.
And remember, the charter's in place already. We're just making recommendations to make changes. We're not rewriting this from scratch. I mean,
Right.
there's,
No,
you
no,
know,
but
it's
it-
like-
But if we have certain milestones or
Yeah.
goalposts that
Yeah,
we
of
know,
course.
how are we on track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the end of February is the answer, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
all the interviews
All the
done.
data is in front of us,
Yeah.
and then, and March's discussion.
Mhm.
I mean, we're discussing along the way as well, but it's, the discussion will come out of some of the themes that we get from our group discussions.
So Karen and I had put March 5th, right, to be the end of the public
Public
gathering.
input, yes.
Do we want to change that to the end of February? Or do we want to
No.
keep that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, Joe.
I want to clear on one point. When we actually conduct an interview,
Yes.
that information, does it go into a data collection form or does it go into the minutes? When- So-
It goes into the
so it's gonna
minutes.
be the minutes of the interview.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But again, the minutes are not verbatim.
No, and they shouldn't.
But if there's, so,
They're just
Very
admin
general.
laws. They're
But
not
let's-
like.
Otherwise,
so
you
to
won't
Joe-
find
Joe's
it.
question- Joe's question is, what if the,
You'll have to rely on the
selectman,
personal notes.
first selectman says, I don't think, the Board of Finance should be an elected
Right.
position. So the question is, how do you make that note? You know, is that in the minutes? How do we then collectively share that information that the first selectman says these three
And if
things?
it's not in the minutes, is it legitimate then to bring it up in the meeting and say, look?
Yeah, I'll give you my opinion. Statement like that from the first selectman
Yeah.
has to be in the minutes. That's a
I think- yeah.
specific statement.
so
That's,
too.
there's
Yeah.
no issue there.
No, I agree.
I don't think so either.
Okay, so that's where we're gonna have some differences, but there might be some sort, as we said, the common themes that we shared here. You know, elected versus appointed. How do you feel about the sewer committee? How do you feel about term limits, length of terms, size of boards and commissions? So there are gonna be some standard kind of things we're gonna go through with the first selectman, and all the selectmen, the town council, et cetera. So that maybe as we think about that template for minutes, it's going to have those questions.
When I've interviewed people in the past, one of the questions I would ask them is, what's the most important thing to you that you want us to bring forward? And to let them highlight the one or two things as opposed to us coming with 6 or 7.
Yeah. It could be, but if we're asking them to go through the charter, and I know I'll just use the first selectman as an example, they live and breathe this charter, right? So they understand, and they'll be flipping pages and going through lines, I'm sure. So we're gonna have to take notes about that. And those, again, notes are going to also be available as part of the public packet. So that might not be the minutes, but you can take notes.
I mean, one example is you can speak to somebody for 5 minutes about the size of a board, you
Yeah.
know, and you say, we had a general discussion about the size of the board.
Yeah.
They then stated they want no more than 3.
Right.
If that's what they state, and that's,
Yeah.
but the 5-minute discussion,
Yeah, but
Is a
again,
discussion.
you can take notes. They are gonna be part of the public packet though. Yeah. Okay, Angela, I think, yeah, and I'm just keeping mindful of time. Karen, you have a planning and zoning meeting, right? In 4 minutes, something like that? Okay, we're gonna be mindful of that.
4 minutes.
All right, let's wrap up. Did I have any? Yep, I'm gonna take the last go around, questions. I'm gonna start with you. Any questions for us?
None.
Any comments? Angela? No. Okay, Joe, Steve,
No.
Todd, Jennifer, Bill?
I have one
Yeah.
question. The last time around, there were interviews of entire boards at
Yes.
one time, and then interviews of individual
Yeah,
members.
yeah.
Are you contemplating that?
Yes, that's an option. It's up to the boards, up to individuals.
But the
Sometimes,
boards came in front of the entire commission.
They came in front of the entire commission. You can
Yeah, I-
set that up too. I mean, that's perfectly fine. You know, we have dates. And so if you don't want to have to post a special meeting, that's a great point. Let's say you said, you know, we know what the schedule is. Our next meeting, January 6th, January 20th, February 3rd. If you want to coordinate your interviews with those dates, it's already on the calendar. You just have to let us know. We put it on the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
I'm thinking of two sets of interviews, the individual members interviewed
If they so
by-
choose, yeah.
Well, no, that we would interview
Oh,
the individual members of town council,
And then.
but we would have.
That seems to be
Didn't we
high.
have Interviews with the entire town council.
That's all.
Yes, if they chose to do that, yes, not everybody could be
Well,
there.
it was in there. How did you determine,
Could you mute?
how did you determine whether or not to bring the whole group in versus talking to them
It
individually?
was by their choice.
Ah.
By
okay.
that entity's choice.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So not this group's choice to say, we all have an interest in.
We welcome planning and zoning to come to this full meeting. And if they're available on a Tuesday on this date at 5:00, yes, they'll come, then we welcome them. We can make use of our time for these meetings, okay, where they come and present to the full commission.
But that would not preclude individual.
That doesn't preclude, individuals can come and speak to the whole commission if they'd like as
No, it
well.
doesn't preclude subcommittee interviews.
It does
with
not preclude
individuals.
it, no,
Okay.
not at all.
Can I make a suggestion for what
Yeah.
it's worth? And I reached out on this earlier. I think when it comes to the hot button issues, and it includes Board of Selectmen and certainly, well, maybe all the Board of Finance, but certainly the chairman. And certainly the chairman of Board of, probably Board of Ed, and certainly all of the ones that are. the
Planning and
key.
zoning.
Planning, zoning, treasurer, Claudia, they should be invited to address all of this.
Yes.
I was just
Now-
about to say that, I
And
agree.
I don't know if that precludes or doesn't having individual discussions and interviews later, but that should definitely be, they should be given that kind of attention. We should all hear the same thing. It just makes sense to me on
Perfect.
any,
Yeah.
if everybody agrees with that. I
So
don't
take
think
a look
we
at,
need to-
as your group, take a look at your list.
Well, two
and-
of them are ours, so that's why I'm
Yeah, and
mentioning
so let's
do
say.
you go ahead and do the side interviews?
Why don't we say, for instance, to take the town clerk, say, here are our dates. When can you come and meet with the whole group? If you, as a group, feel that would be important for the whole commission to listen to the town treasurer, the town clerk, planning and zoning commission, or the chair, then
Well,
you've got
should it
those
be done
dates
by
already
group
set
or
up.
should it be a general invitation from us to just?
Well,
I mean, if-
again, you know,
otherwise you duplicate the process. What does everybody think? I don't know.
I agree with you, Judy.
Yeah.
I think there are several groups. Obviously, everyone signed up, as you said, for the same groups. Hence why we went to the bag and the draw. I think there's several entities that should be before.
who are they then? Do you want me to?
Town council,
Yep.
Chairman's at
Chairman.
least, if not the whole.
planning and zoning.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Jennifer.
Town council.
Town council, what was the second?
Planning and zoning,
Planning and zoning, yeah.
board of finance,
Yep.
Board of
Board of Ed.
Selectmen,
board of selectmen,
town treasurer,
Board of Ed.
Board of Ed for
Board
sure,
of Ed.
and Claudia, yeah.
The
town
heads-
clerk.
Yeah, the Board of Ed has like two little
70.
items.
Yeah, 'cause it's all state
It's-
statute.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's not their whole,
No.
it's not
No,
their
it's
charter.
not,
but
but I think that an issue that could come.
They're
up is-
welcome, the whole. and it's-
Yeah, they're welcome, but
Yeah.
also should their budget be allowed to go to a referendum?
Right.
In other words, the whole budget, it's an issue.
Yeah,
And several people have mentioned this. I'm not.
okay,
I'm
Board
not
of Ed,
personal.
okay, keep going. Yeah,
Well, they
Who
all the
else?
elected officials, the town clerk,
Well, we
the
did those.
treasurer.
Who, are we
and if
missing
they choose
anybody?
not to come, that's their choice, as it
course.
was 10 years ago. And if they want to meet with a smaller group, that's fine. Yes, Bill.
So if a subgroup studies something, it comes forward with, let's say, unanimous recommendation to the committee. And whether, I guess the committee at some point has to include the report, so let's say it's unanimous.
Yeah.
What type of supporting information do we need? I mean, you know, we go through it, it's clear, this is what we think the answer is.
Yep.
And everybody we heard from.
Yeah.
Half of them is.
Yeah.
What kind of supporting information do we need to substantially back up our conclusion, other than our opinion?
It's our opinion. It's our opinion.
And for better or worse,
And-
nobody's bound by any subcommittee decision. It's just your recommendation.
But then the recommendation is the 11, and the 11 would vote on it. At that point, that's our recommendation.
Correct.
That's correct. And that becomes a,
And then town council votes.
it becomes part of the report.
Comes right in the report. We
Yeah.
don't need a, we don't
Yeah.
need, we interviewed 38 people and 40.
It's part of the, read the report from 10 years ago and you'll get a sense of the flow. Yeah.
So, Angela, did you get all those?
Yeah, I did. I just thought you said something in between town council and P and Z, something like chair.
No.
No, okay,
No,
I
I
misheard.
said you invite the chair and the members and see how
Right.
many want to
Yeah,
come.
got it,
Not
got
the
it, got
chair.
it. I
So
thought I'd
to
missed
keep
something.
it simple, do you want those groups and the individuals, should we just reach out to them? Well, the secretary and I can reach out.
Why not take
And the
the vote?
chair, vice
Yeah,
chairman.
I think-
And we'll just reach out, they'll get their responses. And then we'll let you know where they're going to be, which meetings. I will tell you, not that anybody cares very much about it, but January 6th, I will be dialing in from the Seychelles. So my vice
Oh
chair.
my God, yeah.
I have no idea what time it's going to be, but I will be there. And.
You should take the time off.
I'm just curious. I'm not going to conduct the board. Somebody else.
It's gonna be the middle of the night.
We'll be all
That's
right
okay.
without you.
I've done it before. It's
Don't
not a
do it.
problem. But I'm not conducting the board. It will be conducted in person by. my
Well,
vice
do you
chair.
want to start scheduling?
Yeah.
Key people for January 6th?
Yes, we've got the 6th, the 20th and the 3rd.
But
We
I
have
mean,
3
is
days.
everybody comfortable doing it as soon as the 6th?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we have to. I think we
Absolutely.
absolutely
I
have
think so,
to.
but
We
I'm
have
a
no
little
choice.
nervous.
Can I
You're
just-
not here.
That's okay. I
No,
will be
I
I
there.
just
didn't
raised
wanna
one more
overstep
question.
Yeah.
Do we want to interview the first selectman separately from the other two members
Well,
of the
that's
board of
Again, it's her
selectmen?
choice.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you
Choice.
want to do double duty. That's ours.
I think it's,
And we
I
can
think it's,
decide after. She should be first. I mean, she should be first, Steve Carl, and then Amy.
Yes.
And then you can go to Board of Finance.
now, if not,
and
those dates don't work for the first
Then you move
selectman.
them back.
That, well, they can, yeah,
The
we can
next
set
one.
another time
next one,
or
yeah.
they can be in the smaller group.
But we could
meetings.
try to get, what do you think, 3 or 4 in for January 6th? Or is that too many, you think? Or I would try to get
Depends on the
big
theme.
ones, because
Depends
that
on the
sets
theme.
the tone for the interviews you have all the way down.
Yeah, I'd like to get at least 3 in on the.
I would
first day.
too. I'd even try for 4.
I agree with you, Judy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or, all right.
All right.
Do you want me?
We've
We just have
lost our-
time limits.
All right,
we'll talk
We'll
about
talk.
this.
We'll talk.
It won't be a meeting, but we will
No.
talk about it. And any other I think I stopped somewhere over here. Karen, did you have any other comments? Judy? you
No,
answered.
that was my
Okay.
concern.
Happy
All
holidays.
right, happy holidays to
Wait,
everybody,
sure.
but we do have to adjourn the meeting, so I have a motion from Bill, second. Who's that second, Jennifer? All those in favor say aye. Okay,
Aye.
meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Judy?
Happy holidays, everybody.
Do you guys
Thank you.
wanna
Thank you
maybe
very
have a
much.
conference tomorrow, the three of us, just to schedule stuff? You guys free tomorrow?
Let's